What's going on, everybody? Chaseontwowheels here in front of Mountain Motorsports in Roswell, Georgia. And in front of me, guys, I have the 2024 Polaris Slingshot SLR. You guys know I do a first ride on one of these at some point in the year, once a year, it seems like. So this year, Polaris has sent out their SLR model, which is kind of like the base model for the Slingshots. And while it's not two wheels, I feel like it's close enough for us to do a first ride on it for you guys. So, without further ado, let's get on this thing. Let's take it for a ride around our first ride loop. And stick around to the end of the video to find out if this is a purchase or a pass. Let's get it started. Oh shit, get a Cardo and listen to the music, because why use the stereo system that's built into your vehicles? 10% off Seated Cardo in the description. It's so hot. Alright guys, that's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. Now, before we get on the road, we got to gas this thing up with an ad real quick, and then we will get right to it. Do you guys ever wonder if there's a better alternative to those habits we all want to kick? Meet Fume, the game changer in the flavored air category. So what Fume is a award-winning flavored air device that offers a satisfying alternative to those bad habits that you guys want to kick. It's not a vape, there's no vapor, and it's completely guilt-free. Check this thing out. No nicotine means no addiction. Non-toxic flavors ensure a safe and enjoyable experience. With no batteries, there's no need to ever worry about charging it. Unlike your phone that's probably about to die. The high-quality weighted design looks great and feels great in your hand. Plus, it's perfect for fidgeting with its satisfying magnetic snaps and clicks, which is honestly my favorite part. I've been trying out their orange vanilla flavor lately, and it's become my go-to. It's smooth, flavorful, and gives me something to reach for when I need it. And knowing it's backed by doctors here in the US means I don't have to worry about it. Flavored air from Fume isn't like vaping though. If vaping was compared to like sticky sodas, then Fume cores could be compared to like an herbal tea. They have flavors like orange, vanilla, and crisp mint that give you that oral fixation through a passive diffusion system. No vaping, no electronics, no combustion. So if that sounds like something you guys want to try, join over 300,000 people that are kicking bad habits with Fume. For a limited time, I have a coupon code for you guys. When you grab the Journey Pack on their website and use code 2wheels, you get a free base, which is perfect for keeping this thing at your desk, plus more magnets. So you guys go to tryfume.com, use the coupon code 2wheels, or you guys can just scan this QR code, whatever's easier. Put that coupon code in and you guys will get that free base. While you guys go kick those bad habits, I got a first ride to get back to. Alrighty guys, thank y'all for watching that ad. We appreciate you a very long time. Let's get in it. Oh my god. Also guys, as you can tell, we have installed a quad lock onto this bike. We just used their little adhesive mount and their little friction arms to be able to adjust this thing wherever you need it to, which has been a really cool thing to have my phone available in here. That way I don't have to sit it down there in this little console. Anyway, you guys know I love my quad locks. All right, let's get the feet in and get this thing going. So guys, I'm 5'10" with a 32-inch inseam. Just kidding, you're really low to the ground in this thing, and you obviously don't have to balance it. And yes, it's a first ride with shorts on, so go me. So I'm going to push the gas in. As you guys can see, we've got the wireless key here. We will press the button, and it will get going. As you can see, we have 3 different options. We have reverse, neutral, and drive. There is no park. You just put it in neutral and engage the parking brake, and that's it. Also, things you guys are probably going to wonder. Yes, it does have seat belts. Boom. Safety. Next, do you have to wear a helmet to facilitate one of these? Depending on your state, but here in Georgia, yes, you do need a helmet to operate, and it has 2 modes. So currently we are in the slingshot mode. You can tell by that little icon there. If we put this fun little red button, we go into comfort mode. We're going to start in comfort mode, and we will progress to slingshot mode before we get to the highway. My friends, without further ado, I'm going to put the parking brake off. I'm going to press the drive button, and if I let off, nothing happens. But if I push a pedal, I go. Let's get her going, guys. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know, we've given up on YouTube notifying you guys that we make videos. So we have a newsletter that we would love for you guys to join. It's a link in the description down below. We only email you guys once a week with all the videos we put out that week and some special stuff in there. So if you guys want to check it out, we'd love to have you over there. And let's get her going. It's weird to have a steering wheel on a first ride. That does not feel normal. Oh, we can probably make that. Oh my god, this is about to be hilarious. Alrighty guys, so the Slingshot. Now, the Slingshot has a lot of model options that you guys can grab. We're in the SLR option, which is kind of a middle option, and it comes in at a price point of around $31, but the lower models I think are around the 28 region. But there is a model above this one with, you know, nicer stuff, nicer brakes, nicer everything, for in the 30s, and then there's a Roush edition. So I think we are in a pretty good middle range option here. It's not the nicest, it's not the most cost effective, but it's a good middle ground. Alrighty guys, it is a first ride, so let's talk about body position. So first off, as you guys can see, we are really low to the ground in the Slingshot, which I do think adds to the, you know, sporty vibe that you do get from this thing. As far as the seats, I think they do a really good job of being comfortable and putting me in an area where I feel like I'm being held in. I wouldn't say they're crazy bucket seats, but when we get going left and right in this thing, I do feel like the seats do a decent job of holding me in place. And the really cool thing about these seats, because we are out in the open, these little controls right here are heated and cooled, so you do get cooled seats, thank God, because it's like high 90s today with 100% humidity, which, as you probably know, is disgusting. We love a cooled seat. So guys, body position overall, not too bad. I can see out of my mirrors pretty well, even though they are manually adjustable, so I can't get to them. We'll stop here at the red light so I can get a mode change. That braking is questionable. Alright, we're done in comfort mode. That was very comfortable, but so now I want slingshot mode. And I'm going to launch off the line. We're going to see how she does. Good lord, that shifting is delayed. Alrighty guys, let's talk about the engine propelling the Slingshot here. We are looking at a 4-cylinder, 2-liter engine, just like in a car you would get, which from motorcycle people equates to about a 1997cc engine, even though it's not really the same. And that power is good for 203 horsepower with 144 foot-pounds of torque. Now, from what I can tell online, there are 2 main engines or power plants for the Slingshot. This one is the slightly more powerful one, so that is something we need to note. And let's talk about city performance in the Slingshot. So the first thing that I notice when riding around the city, especially in smaller lanes, is because of those giant fenders. You guys can see the one over there. It does make me feel, as the driver, that the vehicle is a bit wider than it otherwise probably is. It just feels like I take up the vast majority of a lane, and there's not a lot of wiggle room. But when I look at footage of me driving the Slingshot around, it doesn't seem as like wide as it does in my brain. So I think those fenders are making me feel like I'm a little wider than I normally am. So one weird thing about the cooled seats, my back right now is being cooled. I can feel it, but it almost feels like my back is wet. And that's interesting because when I got in the Slingshot this morning, there was a lot of dew because it rained last night or whatever. And when I first accelerated, I felt a stream of water just go all over my leg. So if you're going to be getting the Slingshot, just make sure you understand that you are checking off the box of, I do realize I'm getting a vehicle that is subject to outside conditions. If it rained the night before you ride your Slingshot, you are probably going to get a leg of like a wet leg or something like that. But that compared to the cooled seats, I now feel my back is wet. I know it's not because it's just the cold air, but it's just something that like plays with your mind. So as far as power goes, I don't think there's any issue with the amount of power this thing puts down for city riding. The only issue I really have when it comes to the power side is the lag that I'm experiencing in the transmissions prepping me up for what gear I need to be in. I'm noticing that there is a massive lag. And as long as I know about it, I can kind of account for it. Like, I just have to be looking for when I need to throttle up and throttle up ahead of time to give the vehicle time to shift. But so far, not a huge fan of that. I will definitely leave the traction control on for this turn, though. On your mark. Get set, go. That's with traction control on? That's hilarious. Oh my god. I had traction control on and I was so babying the throttle there. That's freaking hilarious. Well, I definitely got to turn it off now. We're going straight. It'll probably be fine. That's insane. That's one of the cons of getting a vehicle with 3 wheels and one in the back. You don't have a lot of power. You don't have a lot of rubber to put the power down that you have. All right, I don't know how much throttle I can give this thing once we get the green, but I'm going to try to get her off the line. Also goes without saying, guys, I have no paddle shifters. I have no gear shifter. This is the automatic version. Obviously, it's pretty visually obvious, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. So I have no control. I only have the pedal for how much control I have. All right, we'll see what she does. Before the shift, that was hilarious. Alrighty, guys. So plenty of power to like just roast your rear tire on this thing. So, guys, yeah, that power, that shifting is just being very strange, and I'm trying to give it different levels of pressing on the throttle, and it's just laggy every single time. So that is taking a little bit away from the overall experience that I think I could otherwise be having. And this vehicle is very strange with the way it's shifting, and the only way I know to describe it is if you've ever ridden with somebody in a manual vehicle, that is what it feels like to drive this thing. It's very laggy in between shifts. It feels lazy almost. It just takes its time. I really wish it would be a little snappier, because if it would be, I think this thing would actually feel a lot more performance-y, but with so much lag in the shifts, it really makes the vehicle lethargic to increase speed. Not a huge fan of that, and I think that's really going to hurt it on the 40 to 80 pull up here. All right, guys, we got a thing to do. We got to see how fast the 2024 Slingshot SLR can get from 40 miles an hour to 80 miles an hour, thanks to our buddies over at Law Tigers. They are our motorcycle lawyer friends, and you should give them a call if anything happens to you on the road. I don't know how this is going to do. I don't think it's going to be great, if I'm going to be 100% honest. And that lag is not going to help it at all. We're going to back off a little bit, let the cars ahead get ahead. All right, 4880 pole, 2024 Slingshot SLR. On your mark. Get set, what? Go! Wow, that's terrible. That's 80. Okay. Good God. I don't know how long that took, but that was the longest shift that this thing has taken the whole time. That is not good, dude. That puts you in such a weird position because you don't, like, when you've got that much throttle, my pedal was all the way down, and there was just I don't know if you guys could even hear it, but just an audible lag before it hit. And when my pedal's down, dude, I want to be going. Obviously, we're just messing around with the 40 to 80 pull, but what happens if I'm trying to get out of a situation, you know? That's scary. Anyways, guys, we're on the highway now, so let's talk about highway things. First off, first thing I'm noticing is I am bumping all over the place, and I feel like the steering is just not really that stable. I don't know if you guys can see in the steering wheel, but I am just constantly having to make adjustments to keep this thing forward. It seems very front heavy with the steering, if that makes sense. Like, it seems like any action I do, it's very twitchy. There's a massive move that happens based on that. Now, I will say the vehicle does have cruise control, so we can hit that button to engage it, and then hit set, and that will just engage our cruise control. Then we can go up and down from there. That all works well. If we brake a little bit, it goes off. Love that. All right, cool. Vibration-wise, I'm not getting a ton of vibration here. Like, there's a little bit, no doubt. You know, this is not some plush ride where I'm just floating on clouds. I can definitely feel a lot of vibration, but it's not, I guess what I mean is, it's not annoying me. The only thing I'm not really a fan of here is the twitchiness of the controls. Power-wise, if we're going highway speeds and we need to pass somebody, throttle all the way down. Power comes on, and we've got the power there, but it's same thing. It's just laggy to get you going. Feels a little weird. Guys, I'm going to finish up the highway and listen to some tunes on my Cardo. If you guys want to get a Bluetooth unit for your motorcycle riding, check out Cardo. I got a link in the description for you. That'll give you 10% off. Easily the best Bluetooth system on the market for listening to tunes in your helmet. All right, guys, that's highway done. Thank you, Cardo, for sponsoring the First Ride show, and thank you guys for supporting Cardo through our link. It really helps out. Let's do this turn now that I'm terrified that I have no traction on the rear tire. I mean, I'm low to the ground. It feels like I'm going fast, but there is just no sense of confidence for me with only having that one rear tire. I feel like if anything happened to that rear tire in a pressed position, then I'm spinning out regardless. That feels like exactly what's going to happen. A little terrifying there. I guess we'll keep in Slingshot mode. Slingshot mode seems to be fine. So guys, talking about the modes, I'm trying to figure out what exactly Slingshot mode does. Like right now, it doesn't have an electronic suspension or anything like that, so there's no adjustment there. The shifting I thought would maybe be faster, but that's definitely not the case. And I think the only difference I can really tell in Slingshot mode is that maybe it keeps you at a higher RPM more often. That's the only thing I can kind of imagine, where I've noticed that it'll shift me down to keep me in a higher gear. That's kind of the only thing I've noticed so far. So if you guys have noticed anything, I had a hard time finding this info online, but kind of hard to tell. You would think with a big red button for Slingshot mode, it would be like, oh shoot, be careful of Slingshot mode, but I don't think that's really the case here. So guys, talking about the rest of the controls on the vehicle, like I said, steering's a little twitchy, especially on the highway. Not a huge fan of that. The braking seems a little light. I wish the braking was a little stronger, but that's not my main gripe with the braking. My main gripe is that the brake pedal does not engage at all for about 50 to 60% of the press. I have to press it all the way down to 61% before I start getting any braking. And I'm not a big fan of that. I want that brake to engage sooner so I can, you know, like feel confident that I can slow down. And then once it gets going and slowing down, I wish it would brake a little more. I will say the upgraded model, I think it's called the R model, it does come with Brembo brakes, so that model will probably handle that issue. But I do wish that was the thing. Also, while I've got my mirrors figured out where they need to go, it kind of sucks that they're manual. Because like if I need to adjust that mirror, I've got to pull off and change that mirror. I can't do that from here, or I have to ask my passenger to do that. And I'm not a huge fan of that situation. I would like to be able to do that from maybe up here somewhere. You know, one of the weird things about Slingshots is you get a lot of the negatives of cars and you continue to get negatives of the bikes. So normally with a car, if I'm coming up to something in the road, let's just say like in the middle of the road, there's a manhole cover. On a car, what do? You center up your lane and you make sure that it goes between your tires, right? Okay, what happens if you're on a motorcycle? You get in the left part, you get the right part of the lane, you go around the manhole cover. With a Slingshot, you got two wheels up front and you got one wheel in the back. And what that means is anything in the road, you are 100% going to hit that thing. Another thing I'm noticing is I've got cooled seats, which is like awesome, please be max, which means it's got to have some way of blowing cold air onto my seat, right? What would be nice is if they had something that vented that cold air into the area where my feet are, because right now they don't get any air, so I feel like my feet and my legs are sweating because it's really hot today. But if we're already blowing cold air throughout the vehicle's seat, can we not pipe it over to come out through the side? Also, this thing is really warm. I haven't really been touching it, but now that I am. So this center console area, getting a little hot. Look at that. Even when I let off the brake, it starts rolling backwards on a hill. Even more pushing towards that thing where I'm like, driving this around is just like a manual car that slowly shifts itself. All right, guys, let's talk about the controls and the feel of the vehicle. So this is a vehicle that has to be outside all the time, and I do feel like they did a pretty good job of implementing it with robust buttons that can handle the elements. I've got no problem. They feel good when I press them. They're in logical areas that I don't have a problem finding. I love that if I want to change that screen, I have a button here that can change that screen. And it's a really nice screen and adjusts really quickly. So that's really cool. And it's really good quality too, full color and all that kind of stuff. But we already talked about the pedals. I don't like how long it takes to press the pedals, especially the brake. And I do love these little clicky buttons. Obviously, you can install more here for other things. I know a lot of people buy Slingshots and then kind of customize them, put lights on them and stuff like that. So that's pretty neat. And it's neat that they give you buttons for that. Now, the screen in the middle, I think is, I mean, if I'm going to call it what it is, I think it's kind of pathetic. Like, my MT10 screen that I give a lot of crap to is bad. That one's pretty rough. And it's like you've got a really nice screen right here. Just give us one of those in the middle. I don't really understand that. And I don't have a problem with the dials. I actually like dials. It makes me feel sporty and fun. So I'm totally here for that. And when it comes to the rest of the vehicle, I want you guys to understand this thing from far away does look really cool and sporty. But when you start touching everything, everything does have a pretty cost-effective vibe. Like look at this. This is the dash. It is just made out of like plastic. This whole vehicle feels very plasticky. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I feel like plastic will do a good job of holding up to the elements, you know, especially with this thing. If it's not going to be kept in your garage permanently, it's going to have to deal with a lot of crap. And I feel like plastic is a good option for that. And it probably keeps the vehicle really light, so that's good. But this is not, like, when you get up to it and you're touching on it, this is not a high-end machine. I mean, granted, it only costs, I say only, it costs 31 grand. This one specifically, I believe, is 31,150, and it's a lot of money for a vehicle with this much plastic, if you're asking me. I mean, hell, my Subaru Outback Wilderness, the Wilderness model, cost $40,000 a few years ago, and that thing is solid. That is, like, we've loved that car, my wife and I. And it only costs $9,000 or less than $9,000 more than this. You know what I mean? I don't know. Kind of weird. But speaking of the outside of the vehicle, I know you guys have been looking at that camera car footage. We're going to pull off up here, and I'm going to do a little walk around, show you guys some stuff I like, some stuff I don't like on the Slingshot. And also, shout out to our sponsors. If we didn't have our first ride sponsors, our primary ones, guys, we would not be able to afford to give you guys that camera car footage or this content as often as we do. So you guys supporting them is a huge support to us. So if you guys enjoy this content and you come to a situation where you can utilize one of our sponsors and use our links, we massively appreciate you. You guys help propel this content into the future, and we really appreciate that. Alrighty, let's get pulled off over here. See what this thing's all about. I will note that because of the size of this vehicle, we will not be able to do a turnaround test. And I know that's going to kill everybody. You guys are going to be so upset about that. But everything's going to be okay. I promise. We're going to do the best we can. Transmission and the shifting, they don't love slow speed stuff like this. It just feels like it doesn't know what spot to get in. What spot do we normally do? Do we do this one? I think we do this one. 147. We'll still park in old spot 147. We'll still do that. We'll honor our place. There we go. Alrighty. Hitting the button to be in neutral and clicking it back. And then start stop. And that's all you're going to do. Now, getting out of this thing is not fun. I have realized that if you do a foot out, establish on the ground, grab here, and to kind of do a swing method. Watch, I'll show you. I know I can sit. You just swing out. That seems to work the best. Alrighty, guys, that's our Slingshot SLR from Polaris. It's coming in this blue model, and I've seen some other colors. They have a gold that looks really nice. And as long as no cars are coming, that is the look from the front of this vehicle. Very aggressive look on the thing overall. And these are those giant fenders that I was telling you guys about. Look how tall those are. It does make it feel wide, like I said. As you can see, like regular car tires. We got all the wishbone suspension stuff up there. Here at the back, you'll see the gas cap, which is this little fancy doodad right here. Obviously, I'm not going to spin that off. And that's the rear. Pretty simple from the rear. It looks like when Slingshot was deciding and doing all of their designing of this vehicle, it does feel like they put about 80% of the design up front, and then when you get here to the back, it's all blacked out. It seems kind of forgotten. And obviously you got the massive rear tire back here, and the suspension belt drive, if you guys didn't know. I do like the angle here and the lights, and it is very obvious, but we have the option here with the roll cage and the top. Not all models come with that. You can get no roll bar, no top, if you want the full outdoor experience. And if you guys are wondering what's taped up down there, that's the microphone to get the exhaust audio. There is some storage. Each seat comes with, if you press that little button, seat comes forward, and you guys have storage behind the seat. So, it's useful. You could probably fit at least 2 watermelons back there if you're you know, grabbing watermelons. I don't know. Overall, I think it looks neat, at least from the front. And I think it's a cool ride. It's been fun to ride. I don't have a problem with it. Looks wise, I wouldn't go with the blue and the orange. I'm not a huge fan of that color. I do think they have a lot better colors out there. And you should check their website out because they've got a ton of options if you're actually in the market for this. We were talking about plasticky earlier. Even the outside of the vehicle, very plasticky. I do like the shape of these, though. That seems really cool. Very plasticky back here. Everything kind of moves around when you touch it. So it's not the most thick unit, you know what I mean, where it's like nothing's budging, but pretty cool ride. All right, so guys, I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to record some stuff for our peeps over on TikTok and Instagram off my Quad Lock. Shout out Quad Lock for being one of our beautiful, amazing sponsors that we love so much. So, guys, I'm going to film some stuff for Instagram and TikTok. We are at Chaseontwowheels on TikTok, and we are at C2Pics on Instagram. If you guys want to see these videos, they will be over there. I'll be right back. Alrighty, my friends, that is it for the vertical content. Now, we're not going to do a steering sim lock because, obviously, we can't do that. But we need to discuss if this thing is a purchase or pass and who it's best for. So, let's get in this thing and get it going. Alright guys, purchase or pass. Let's find out. I should note while we're here, if you hit reverse, we do have a really nice rear view camera. It works really well. So, the only thing I wish it did is when you turn, I wish these things angled to the side. But it's responsive and works pretty well, so I can't really complain. Alrighty, let's get a look at that. No gas, no brake, rolls backwards. If you ever wanted to feel what a manual car felt like, get yourself a Slingshot. Or just find yourself a friend that has a manual vehicle and ride with them. Save yourself $31,000. Nobody coming, sweet. Alright guys, it's time to answer the age-old question of, is the 2024 Slingshot SLR a purchase or pass? As you guys know, purchase or pass is always my own opinions and is not the opinion of potentially you. That being said, for me, 100% pass, not even close. Okay, now, just because this is a pass for me doesn't mean it could be a pass for you. So, why do I say pass? One, I am a motorcyclist, and I have no want to be in the elements and have less airflow on a slower thing that's heavy, that takes up all the space that a car does, and yet I still have to deal with the elements. If I got to deal with the elements, I want my freedom. And if I can't have my motorcycle freedom, I don't want to be in the elements. Generally. Now the question is, who is the Slingshot SLR for? Now, when it comes to three-wheeled vehicles, generally, you have the Slingshot, which is the car side of things, right? It has a lot of elements of being a motorcycle, but it has far more car than it is bike. And then we have Can-Am, who makes the bike version of a three-wheeler. So, if you want to be sitting on a vehicle with handlebars, Can-Am. If you want to sit in a vehicle with a steering wheel and a seat, you want to go Slingshot. So, first off, you got to decide, okay, cool, you want to have access to the elements and have to deal with all that. And you want a three-wheeler. Cool. Where do you go? If you prefer to have something that's more like a car, it's kind of obvious, but this is your way to go. If you want to maybe get a lot of eyes on you and make people look at you thinking that you're in some exotic vehicle, this is for you. For $31,000, you can get one of the most head-turning vehicles, at least that I've noticed, on the streets. You get so much attention. So if you're looking for attention, $31,000 well spent. If you are looking for performance, this is not necessarily your place to go. If you want to spin the rear tire around all the time, this is a fantastic option. So basically, after spending some time on this thing, I've realized that the person that's best for the Slingshot is some person that wants a lot of attention, that doesn't care that they're getting subpar performance and dealing with the elements inside of a vehicle that looks kind of cool. That's kind of my thoughts on this thing. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. If you made it to this point in the video, you're in the outro crew, which just means you watched the whole thing, and I massively appreciate you guys. If it wasn't for y'all watching the whole video, YouTube would not promote this stuff as much as they do, and I love you guys a long time. So when you drop that comment down below, make sure to put OC in your comment if you made it to the end, and let me know if you were going with a 3-wheeled vehicle, would you go with the Slingshot, or would you go with something else like a Can-Am for your 3-wheeled needs, even though I don't really see myself having a need for this type of vehicle, at least right now. I guess it'd be cool if you can't ride a motorcycle, if you have like a prosthetic leg or something like that. I guess that would be kind of cool. But I don't know, man. Not really for me. But anyways, guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. I hope you guys are riding safe out there and staying cool if it's summertime where you are. Y'all ride safe, and I'll see you on the next one. That'll have 2 wheels. Later, guys.